Hello, my name is LaQuintus Young, and I am completing my internship at Forest Hills Global Elementary School. I am working with second grade, and my classroom teacher is Miss Gina Ludwig. So first, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my reflection questions. The first one is, what did you decide to ask your partnership teacher, and why? Basically, all of my questions came straight from our rubric paper that we all received in the beginning of the semester. Um, all of my questions are pretty straightforward, straight from the paper. There's only about one or two questions I incorporated in there just as a personal. The second question is, why do your partnership teacher's answers matter? Well, Miss Ludwig's answers matters to me a lot because I'm going to be teaching soon and I do not want to leave social studies behind. Social studies is a big part of this country and this world, matter of fact, and I do not want to be one of those teachers to where I do not know how to integrate it or I just don't incorporate it at all. And I love social studies, and by being with Miss Ludwig, I figured great resources out and I figured out ways on how to unpack documents and how to figure out on how to incorporate it every day into your classroom. The third question is, what can you take away from the questions and responses as you move into your internship and first years of teaching? I took away a lot actually from Ms. Ludwig's class, not only from a social studies point of view, but just from her classroom in general. I observed social studies lessons and I observed just her daily routines in the classroom. And so by me observing and talking to her one-on-one throughout this whole time, I took away a lot of important things on how to become a better teacher, on how to incorporate social studies by integrating it with different subjects such as mathematics, ELA, and science. She's definitely a creative teacher, and I'm all about creativity, so it worked well with both of us. So going straight into my interview questions, the first one I asked was, what do you think is most important when teaching social studies? So basically, she told me here that she wants her students to get the understanding of everything that happened from the past up to the present and what they can do to help change the future. So she talks a lot about understanding history, understanding the facts about society and the world. She takes a lot of time, such as 45 minutes for inquiry time, to teach social studies to second graders. And so what she does is she thinks it's important to let them figure things out on their own. They're at that age to where they know right from wrong and they're able to understand similarities and differences. They're able to understand things and figure things out. So she loves to pick their brain a little bit and get the blood flowing up there. The second question I asked is, what is your favorite topic to teach in social studies? So she had a couple things right here. So the first thing she had was history, because it's like telling stories, and we all know students love stories. Heck, I love a good story myself. So she likes talking about history because it's like talking about stories. She likes talking about economics because she can integrate that with mathematics, and I thought that was really cool. I did not think about that. So she definitely taught me that. Also, she makes economics global as well as local, and she likes keeping her topics and subjects with social studies as real as possible. She likes to have little scenarios, real life scenarios for them to relate to and make a personal connection with, whether it's family related, friends, or just things that they see throughout the day. She loves to incorporate historical history figures. She loves MLK Day, when you're spending time to talk about what he did in the past and to where we are now, and just looking at the differences between that and the similarities once again. And she said her students are very inspired by the historical figures in the past, which is always a great thing. The third question I asked Ms. Ludwig was, can you tell me some resources you use in your classroom to teach social studies? So here she had a couple of things too. It was a little bit a couple things. So the first one is Discovery Edge, which is a website that the school pays for when you sign your little teacher contract to start teaching in whichever school you're going to be at, and they pay for Discovery Ed, and it's a lot of videos, but she noticed that those videos are better for higher grades, such as like 3rd to 5th grade, because of the advancement, and it's very intensive and very more informative for 3rd through 5th graders. So for her videos, she likes to use BrainPop and BrainPop Junior. BrainPop Junior is very kid friendly. It is related to kindergartners up to 2nd grade. So you can do a lot if you're a kindergarten to 2nd grade teacher. You can use BrainPop Junior to help looking for kid-friendly videos to talk about science and social studies and so forth on. She also mentioned that it's not much from the school, as much as like resources, besides like the school library. The school library has lots of good social study books talking about timelines and cultural and family events and things like that. She also mentioned she uses Time for Kids. It's about current events. It's very kid friendly. Once again, K through 2. And you can use that up to 5th grade as well, but she said she definitely uses that for 2nd graders, and she know a lot of lower level teachers in lower grades uses that as well. And there's lots of other apps that you can download either on your phone or on your iPad and incorporate that into your classroom. The next question I asked her is, what kind of activities do you use to help implement your teaching to keep the students attentive to historical studies? That's question number 4. So what she used here, she mentioned about field trips. Of course, students love a good field trip nowadays, to the zoo, to the aquarium, to whatever they're going, and they get to learn and be out of the classroom. And also here she mentioned she knows her students very well, of course, so she knows that group work helps every one of those students. So they're all broken up in different teams, and they all get to feed off each other and help each other build off of great ideas on different topics that they're talking about within social studies and within other subjects as well. And she just mentioned that group work works really well. She does activities such as games, scavenger hunts, as I mentioned earlier, and the kids get really engaged with that, and it's just very creative. She's a very creative teacher, and I just feel so inspired that I have somewhat of like a veteran teacher. So the next question is question 5. How do you feel about social studies not being taught as much as it is in higher grades? Here she mentioned, of course, when it comes to social studies in elementary schools, it gets pushed down to the bottom of the barrel and it might not come back up. So here she said that she is one of those teachers that integrates it in every subject possible. She will integrate it in ELA, in mathematics, in science. She will integrate it in anything that she can, so that at the end of the day, if she do not get the chance to teach social studies solely by itself, then the students will have social studies in their mind by the end of the day because she can integrate it with different other subjects. So she said regardless, she's going to make sure that she gets social studies in no matter what. As opposed to other schools and other teachers, they just don't teach it, or they might have the option to where they can teach social studies or science, or they teach one or the other in the beginning of the year and then the other one towards the end of the year. So it was very informative of her feedback for this question. Next question is, what challenges do you face as a classroom teacher teaching social studies? So again, like I just said, time. Time is the most effective thing. Okay, so time is the least effective thing within social studies, apparently, to some teachers in some schools in different places, wherever you're located. And she just mentioned that time and scheduling is just the biggest hassle ever. She mentioned that planning gets easier by each year. So I'm hoping that's true. So I'm going to hold her to that. So basically it's just time and scheduling it, putting it into your schedule. But if you integrate it, like she said earlier, you really shouldn't have a problem. The next question I asked her is, what do you think is most important for young learners to take away from social studies? So here she got in depth and in very great detail. I'm going to make it really short and sweet and simple for you. She wants her students to understand. She wants her students to realize and know the meaning of history. Know what happened in the past and how we got to where we are in the present and how they can change the future, like I said earlier. She wants her students to understand the struggle that certain people, many different people, have went through in the past, in their life, to make a change for us here today, present. And she also finds it most important for them to understand diversity, for them to understand culture, and she embraces that in social studies a lot as well. Some other important things that she realized is that she mentions about some things being difficult to teach around because of grade appropriate and age appropriate. So she finds it when you get to different topics in social studies, such as race and so forth, she makes sure that she teaches it with books, and she has different artifacts to help her implement her teaching for that lesson. So the last question I asked her was, what advice would you give me as a potential teacher teaching social studies? Here she was very, very sweet, very informative. I really do appreciate Miss Ludwig very much. She gave me some really great advice. She told me, whatever you do, do not brush social studies off your charts. Do not teach it. Like, you need to embrace social studies. Social studies is as important as any other subject. No subject in school is more important than the other. They all work hand in hand, and in that way you can integrate them hand in hand. She gave me really great really great ways on how to integrate it, so I feel very enthused with everything. I'm very pleased. She told me to keep it fun, to keep it socially engaging. Students love to talk, so students love to get one-on-one and getting group work in. I think that's about it for all of my interview questions, and I thank you very much.